Uganda has been one of the countries which have had a successful story in terms of infrastructure development. For those of you who will move up country, you will agree with me that the road sector has greatly improved, and also the housing projects in this country have also developed tremendously. Many people are owning and building beautiful houses, quite very many when you go around Kampala, Wakiso, Mukono, even in other parts of the country. There's been also clean water, there has also been electricity, and when you drive, there's so much traffic in Kampala. As cars have increased, there is a question as to whether Uganda has achieved the middle income status. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni had declared that the country has moved to middle income status, something that the World Bank and IMF and other international organizations refuted and said, you are not yet there. My guest today on the Senior Citizens Talk of HICGI News Agency is a microfinancial specialist. You can call him a consultant who has dug so deep in the microfinance, how it came about, and a lot more that we are yet to chat in our Senior Citizens Talk tonight. My name is Chivumbi Ernest Benjamin, your usual host of the show. Mr. David T. Baguma, welcome to the Senior Citizens Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Chivumbi.
Mr. Baguma, will you agree with me that this country, maybe the international organization, financial organizations, are political in trying to say that Uganda has not achieved the middle income status? As a financial consultant, do you think President Museveni and his government are right to say that we have attained the middle income status?
You see, it depends who is defining the middle income status. In fact, you called me a consultant. Others call me the father of microfinance. Others call me the grandpa of microfinance. Wow. So, but we have come a long way. For sure, this country has come a long way. It is not how it was. You say, I tend not to sound political, but those of us who have been in this country in the 60s, in the 70s, and the 80s, they can see there is a fundamental, I don't know whether it's a fundamental change, but there are changes which are visible.
Yes.
So whether we are there, you see, for me, in the microfinance, I don't define microfinance in the World Bank definition or the United Nations definition.
How do you define it?
There was a time a student, I think was from America, and I told him that here we don't take the definition of the World Bank, because the World Bank of poverty, they rate it at a person who lives below $1 a day. But I told this researcher, he was I think a student of PhD or something, I told him the poverty here, you see it, you smell it, you even touch it. So when you go in a homestead,
yes,
the first thing to see poverty, you will see it. Then you will smell it. Then you will touch it. Yes. That's how you will define poverty here.
Absolutely.
Because poverty here can smell, poverty here you can see it, you can touch it everywhere you go.
Yes.
So that is the experience we've had. But now, for sure, there was a time when many families were very poor. Poor that you can smell the poverty, see it and touch it. I have a lot of experience which I'm not going to show today, but we have come a long way. And what I'm saying, that microfinance, you see, the forms of microfinance have been in the world ever since God created this world.
What is microfinance itself to a layman?
To a layman, is the ability to access little money and use it for purposes of improving your business and improving your welfare. So microfinance, as you hear the word micro, I can tell you from the beginning, even the computers, the framers of computer, Microsoft, what the word, they never knew the word microfinance existed. So some of us actually have contributed to the existence of the word microfinance. In the computers, you will put and it will underline it that's a wrong word. So, and it will, when you click on it, it will show you that it is micro, then finance. It didn't have one word called microfinance. And I think some computers may still be programmed like that. But we have managed to make microfinance a substantive phrase in many families, in many governments and families. In fact, at one time I was, I don't know whether I was joking, but I was discussing with General Salim Saleh. And I told him, do you know that we gave you a job? And he didn't understand. I said, you see, if we had not created a microfinance in this country, the appointing authority wouldn't have thought of you being a minister of microfinance. That's how I tell you that we gave him a job. Because microfinance became an issue to discuss politically, nationally, because that's why the Association of Microfinance Institutions were formed. The first microfinance institution that started way back in the early 90s, the microfinance we're talking about is a research. It came up with what really works in microfinance. Because in microfinance, you hear people who are talking of income generating activities. That is not microfinance. That's not a business. I know what microfinance is. It's not purely business, but it is not also purely social. It is a combination of both. That's why many people fail to understand what microfinance is. It's a combination of business principles and also social goals in microfinance. So as time went on, we started really getting to understand what is this microfinance business? What is it that works? Because it was the issue of what works. Yes. And we went against almost all the conventional principles and strategies to make microfinance work. Because previously there was circles were always there. Circles, these cooperatives have been there for a long, long time. And they are still there. But now they are even better. Circles of today, you can't compare it with circles of 30, 50 years ago.
How are those ones of 30 years ago compared to those of today?
No, the circles, no, they were for cooperators, people who would come together, mobilize their savings, and borrow from their savings. It's still the same principle. You save money, you borrow from it, you use it for your business, and you continue to save as you borrow from it. From members only. That was very, very important to have that when you are doing microfinance in the circles, it's members. If you are interested to access financial services, then you become a member. And you use it in that, non-members will not be welcomed. So, so microfinance is, we have developed it. It has now principles. We know others call them best practices, what works, which have been tested. That when you pursue microfinance in this way, this is the most likely outcome. And we did that, and things worked for us. Microfinance in Uganda is now a formidable institution. Because why I'm saying this, we started lending without collateral. When we told the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Uganda they were not very sure. It says, are you sure? How can that work?
Yes, risky. So too much risk.
Oh, very much. Everybody was talking risk. And they were possibly justified to talk about it. But for us, we had got what works for poor people without collateral. And our recovery was 98, 100%. And the institutions were wondering, those who are conventional bankers, economists, were always surprised. How can people lend money without collateral and you recover 100%? It was not very easy to many people's minds because universities were not teaching that. There was no institution which would qualify students like they have a bachelor's in microfinance. These days they have. Chambogo does, I think, Mkosi does, and I think Kumba they may have, and the MOBs they try to do bachelors of microfinance. But at one time I asked the professor, I said, how do you teach microfinance without consulting me? He had come to my office in the head office of Amfu. Yes. I said that there is no one who can do the best microfinance without us getting involved. Because we are the ones who know what works and what doesn't work. Otherwise, you are going to teach your students the conventional finance, and your students will graduate when they don't know what to do. But for us, we teach our own and teach understand it, and they would actually help these people to understand microfinance, to how they can benefit from it. You see, if I can go back, the issue of money, accessing money, I had a consultant who I was also told. So this consultant told me and looked in my eyes and they said, David, any fool can give out money. But it takes a wise person to get the money back. Yes. That one, it became a guiding principle for me. Any fool can give out money. That's why sometimes these government programs have not yielded the desired results because anyone could give out the money. In fact, the word giving is a negative word in the success of microfinance. And at one time I told the government that you are spoiling the industry by saying you organize yourself to a West.
Exactly. Every 5 years, the president has tried to think of what is best to get poverty out of the people. He began with Bonabagagawale, he came with Ntandikwa, he came with the Myoga, but everything is failing and money can never be recovered. How is microfinance?
Do you know why the money is not recovered? That is the problem of not understanding who should own the money. It used to be a problem, income generating activities. And they were doing it in good faith. Give this group some money, they will buy sewing machines and do ABC. They use the money, bring it back. It was not working like that. That's how the Tandiko failed. Who was owning the money? You see, I don't want to talk about the good things only, but I did. When I started microfinance in Buyikwe, it was called the Buyikwe Women Widows Development Project. That project, I started it, and in 2 years, in 3 years, I lost 51% of the portfolio. And there was no one to pinpoint you stole the money. There was no one to point at. The problem was the design of the program. The donors, I had got a donor who gave me money to use in that project. And the donors themselves didn't understand what microfinance is. So they will give you money, that money is for this project, for this community. They will draw boundaries, it is for this county, it shouldn't go beyond. So you start like that. Then as we started, we would say, why should I give money and I don't give you because you have gone outside the boundary of the demarcation where the project should stop? It was not fair. So when I lost 51%, I said, but they have told us, someone is telling us that Finca is getting 100%. I visited them they had office were in Jinja. So I visited them. Tell me, how have you made it? Muchikora mutyamwe okuberanga you recover the money when me I have lost 51%. They say the red was there, didn't give me documents. He told me a few things which I remember. She told me that the problem you have, you are giving big loans, unmanageable. So he gave me tips of what we should do in microfinance. That we are giving out unmanageable loans. And that was true. When we went to Buyukwe, women were telling us, they told us things that were not researched, and I think they didn't have information. They say, if you grow 1 acre of maize, you will get so many kilograms of maize. When you use maize, you use a tractor to open the ground, then come back the whole using a tractor. We said, okay. So someone would borrow money to hire a tractor, to plow, and then to plant. When it came to weeding, they didn't have a chibaro what the president is these days emphasizing. So we gave them money for agriculture, money for poultry. I remember one family in Makong in Buyikwe. A woman, we gave her money she built a chicken house. But her home was a thatched grass house. Now, chicken were living a
better life than that's all.
Not that thatched grass houses are bad, but when you build a thatched grass house, not out of poverty, but out of need, it is very nice to live in a thatched grass house. In fact, you go to South Africa or in other countries, thatched grass hotels are more expensive than these tiled houses.
Wow.
Because the temperature there is regulated, you don't need AC in a thatched grass house. Wow. It has self-regulated air supply. So the issue I was telling you, what I got from Finca, then I started trying to say, they are saying what? That you can't give bigger loans because these women wanted more money to open up 2, 3, 4 acres, those who had land. And it didn't work. They invested a lot of money, but the yields were not nice. They were not good. So they couldn't repay. And I would see that they are not failing to pay, they can't pay. They think the willingness to pay was there, but they couldn't pay because they didn't get income from the maize. At that time when I was doing that, there was also, this government has been promoting many interventions.
Yes.
There was a time of intervention which was dealing with the soybean growing. At one time, they even promoted Kamurali, this red pepper. But during that time, once I was doing microfinance, I should say the first season, there was too much rain, and the soybean is rot. Hey, the government, when you lose a child, you can't give up. You go there again. That's what they told me that they need to try again. The next time, it was good harvest, the demand of soybean went down. And I tell you, this woman carried their soya to my office in Buyukwe. In Buyukwe, I had sacks and sacks of soybean. Wow. But no one was willing to buy. So that gave us those learning experience. In the good harvest of agriculture, the price goes down. And in the bad harvest, of course, the things rot. So it was not making economic sense whether to get engaged in agriculture. That's why even up to now, There are some banks who can't give an agricultural loan easily because they know the risks involved. So, but when we started learning what works, I told you what we discovered in microfinance. Like money, the income generating activity, the biggest problem with that strategy is the money doesn't belong to anybody. They said the money belongs to the group, but the group can't own and manage money. That's the one thing people should know, and that's what I was telling government. Government, you can't manage a project of microfinance because money, you don't know how to manage money. The people you are giving money can't manage money. That's the truth. That's why government interventions are not working. They don't know how to manage money.
So they need sensitization before they're given money.
Of course, for us, we are training people, but the point I want to bring out is the question we had to change this issue of income generating activities to real businesses was who should own the money. When you give money to the communities, they fight over the money. Yes. But when you say money belongs to an institution, here is the money. So microfinance, what it was doing was to say, here is the money is here. You can only access it, use it profitably, bring it back. When you finish, you come and get another loan. So it became like money. It belongs to the institution. That's why I was telling you when I did microfinance in Ibuyukwe, there is a lady came from Canada. The one who had financed us, they had given him $100,000. But when he came, she came, that woman, and she told the people in the gathering, had collected many groups to come together. And she said, this money belongs to you. Use it, you will get out of poverty. When she left, the people was pestering to pay. One of the smart women told me that, but Mr. Baguma, the woman came here and told us the money is ours. Why are you pestering us to pay? And I have seen that it happens with this government intervention. When you want to pester the people to pay, they will tell you that this money belongs to government. And if to them government means the money is ours. Why are you pestering us to pay? And so that's when they lose the whole essence of why microfinance is there, the use of money, how money can be used to get them out of poverty. They lose it by this attitude that the money belongs to us. That's what was the entire. You know, government has a dilemma. When the president gives the money before election, they say he's preparing us. he's preparing us for the vote. Yeah. When he gives the money after the vote, he says he's giving us a thank you. I have talked with them. They say money after elections is the thank you vote. Money before the elections is a preparation for the vote. So government gets a dilemma. How do we manage these people who always will misinterpret the government gesture of making them access money?
Because many youth are jobless, they try to put up the youth livelihood fund, the women also had their own funds, but at the end of the day, you see billions and billions of money have been lost and they can never be recovered, and those few who are paraded before court, at the end of they're also left to move, and poverty continues like that. So as a director, when you are still the director of Microfinance Associations of Uganda, what are those major achievements that you can celebrate today?
There are many things we can celebrate, really. First of all, we gave microfinance a name, a face. Not only here, but also globally. Microfinance became the subject matter of governments and other donors. Yes. Because we had got something that works, where you don't keep on giving money. You know, donors were giving money like it's in a bottomless pit. Money going and not really helping people. And the money is finished. But you see, it depends how you gauge achievement. I was told that the government's achievement in Moscow, when they are telling us at the end of the financial year, is measured on how you spent.
It's measured on how much you spend.
Yeah. The fact that when the money is not spent, they say you are an underperformer. That's why some others opted to misappropriate the money.
Yes.
Because you cannot say, I failed to use this money. You failed to use the money. So what measure? So for us, we cannot that microfinance get organized. And the one thing I should also tell you that we achieve, we can celebrate. You see, when you know the MDI Act, the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Act, that was demanded by us. It's not the government that came up with it. We in the microfinance demanded it to be regulated. And do you know why? We demanded to be regulated because some of the microfinance, including the one I was managing, there was a time when the bank manager called me. And he said, Mr. Baguma, he said, yes, sir, I'm going to close all the accounts of your clients. I said, sir, what is it? They are wasting our stationery. When they come to bank, their bank, what is how that? But they use it, they make a lot of mistakes, and we don't want to cook this, wrapping or catering. So every mistake they make, they throw the dustbin. So at the end of the day, the dustbins are full of paper, and it's caused by your own clients who are illiterate clients. I said, what can we do, sir? And he said, unless you print your own deposit slips. I said, okay, sir, let's do that. So some institutions started doing, printing their own deposit slips. But I will ask them to keep one copy for us so that we can correct it and reconcile in our own books. That also they failed to correct. Because we made the deposit slips to have four, like these bank slips we paid school fees. Yes. So he said, this is for the bank, this is for the client, this is for the institution. So we would want them to at least keep 2 copies so that we can get 1 copy for the institution to be able to reconcile properly. The banks still refuse. So we said, if now these commercial banks cannot deal with our clients, what should we do? Our main job was to rob the government. Yes. To rob the government for an enabling environment. So we robbed the government. We were robbing. We started dealing with Government Bank of Uganda and the Ministry of Finance that we need a regulation for us. Because for us, we know what our clients, what they need, and we will manage it better than these commercial banks. Commercial banks at the beginning, they were hostile to us because our clients were not the target they wanted or they were used to. So when we did that, the government started listening. Bank of Uganda, they said now the issue of regulation is basically looking at risk. So the things they put in the law were eliminating many institutions not to be qualified to be MDIs. In fact, when the law came out, only 4 institutions were qualified to be MDIs. Wow. Only 4. And the requirements for Bank of Uganda to qualify to be a regulated institution was very, very expensive. In fact, I talked with the Bank of Uganda, we were there regularly. I said, you see, for us in microfinance, when we talk of banking hall, we don't have the banking hall like yours. You are now telling us to have a strong room. A strong room, the door of a strong room, according to Bank of Uganda, would cost 20 million. It would cost like $10,000. Wow. A door adjusted to the strong room. Which institution would afford that? Yet we were collecting our money in simple structures without air conditioning, without alarm requirement. So the Bank of Uganda would put the requirements to transform from that simple microfinance to a regulated MDI would cost an institution almost 100 million. And that 100 million, they were like those ones, the first ones, that they got donors who could meet that cost. And they became MDIs. So, but that had a positive thing for us. Although there were a few, but the commercial banks started also learning, hearing what were happening in microfinance institutions. We were recovering 98%, 95, well, above 95%. And for them who have collateral, they were not recovering as much as we were doing. So they said, what are these people doing? So I was at one time with a talk show on one of the radios with the commercial bank. And when we told them that for us, our clients would take between 20 million would be the highest, and for them it says 20 million is the lowest we can give. And for us, the client to get 20 million would have proved herself or himself over time, in both in character and in business. So you would see a client who has been working, and he trusted the institution. Even in the institution, I remember where I was working, a client, we were teaching them, do not do multiple borrowing. It's dangerous to your business. Then, but we had the loan ceilings up. I think the institution I was in, at that time where I was, our maximum loan was like 5 million. And here a rate comes with 7 million. And I had to consult my boss. I said, now this client has been very good. Now she wants 7 million. What do we do? Because our policy is talking 5 million. And this client had told me that, Mr. Baguma, I have already bought a ticket. She was going to Dubai. You know, the clients we started with, simple women, but who had grown their business that they could even fly to Dubai. So I told my boss, I'm going to abrogate this policy for the sake of this woman. Because she was challenging me principle on two things. You told us not to do multiple borrowing. I need 7 million. I can't borrow from another institution. You are the one to give me the loan. So I abrogated it. But that was the beginning to at least revise our loan policies.
Wow. We are still on the Senior Citizens Talk with Mr. David T. Baguma Emmanuel House from Kanungo. And we are yet to hear more from Mr. David Baguma. Mr. Baguma, you've worked for several organizations, national organizations. Which are these organizations you've worked for? Apart from the microfinance institutions.
You see, when I started working in 1992, I worked for an organization called the Feed the Children in Regions International Ministries. Later on, it became Feed the Children in Uganda. I worked there for 12 years. Then I retired. I was persuaded to join the AMFI, where I was a board member. I didn't talk about how did the AMFI began, but it began seriously. AMFI started in 1999. So, but it became very effective around 2002, 2001. But that's why I've worked. Then I worked in AMFI until I retired. So I've worked basically in 2 organizations, but giving all of myself to that institution to make sure it achieves what it wants to achieve. 12 years in Feed the Children, then 12 years in the AMFI. So I have not been jumping from institution to institution.
But I've also heard that you've been giving consultancy to World Bank, to BRAC International. Is that true?
I've given the consultants. The one of World Bank is recent. But you see, microfinance, when it started developing, many people were interested in it. So we started the AFMIN, the Africa Microfinance Network. where I served also as a board member at one time. And so the main objective of AFMIN was to make sure that all microfinance institutions in Africa, since we know what works, should do it in a more professional way so that the people in Africa can get out of poverty. Sure, people can get out of poverty if you do the right thing at the right time. We have seen people getting out of poverty in the microfinance industry. Me, when I started, I was promoting savings, for example. And at one time, I was looking at the accounts of our clients. And I tell you for sure, there was a client who had saved more money than myself.
More money than yourself.
Yes, I said, how can this client save more money than myself? Because for me, when I was working, whatever I was getting, I was like building this house, this home. So my savings were going down, 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 down. All the time we were doing something. So you don't save. And there are many people who still live like that. They don't save money. The money they get, the expenses are always larger than their income. And that's the definition of poverty. The definition of getting out of poverty is simple. If you spend less than what you have earned, you are a rich man. Even if you have earned 10,000, but you spend less than 10,000, say you have spent 7,000 out of 10,000, and you have saved 3,000. If you continue like that, you will be a wealthy, rich person. But the majority of people in many poor countries, the expenses are far larger than their income. And that's poverty. Wow. And that's why actually even the people who are rich in the town, the people you say these are rich, these people are rich, these people are rich, some of them are really poor.
Is that true?
Yes. Like members of parliament. I don't admire members of parliament. Because the members of parliament, because they earn a lot of money, the expenses are so way higher than their income. So they're always in debt.
They're always in debt.
Some members of parliament, there was a time, there are some people who were money lenders. They made a deal with the parliament, I think the clerk of parliament, or whoever is in charge of the salaries of members of parliament. They said that the members of parliament would sign contracts with the money lender, but the deal would be that once before they pay the instrument, the money lender.
Is this necessary to have a budget book at home? Because the kid will say, I want ice cream, and will say, I want to go out, so I want to go swimming. So it's like,
like 20 shillings out of so many millions. Because it had been chopped at the base.
Yes.
So when you spend much more than your income, you are a poor person. Yeah. So from the experience of my clients, I learned how to save. I learned how to save money, including how I spend, including my home here. Here home, you can, if I can show you, we have a budget book. I never.
Okay, finally, we want to know that part of these countries, 50 countries. You said you were moving on free tickets. You were not paying for yourself tickets. Oh. It's quite amazing. Yeah. How did it happen?
It happened, I think it was a good intervention. When we started doing microfinance and Uganda became a success story, every country wanted almost to get a piece of what is happening in Uganda. So I started in Africa, presenting the success story of Uganda, going to Malawi, to most of this South Africa, to these African countries, even Kenya. So I started in Africa. So in Africa, most of the countries in Africa I went. Then I started in Europe, then America, Latin America, then Asia countries. So one time when I was making accountability, I found I had traveled to over 51 cities in this world.
Wow.
Yeah. And all of them, someone would pay the bill. Yeah. Because in some of those countries, I would not just go there to attend a conference. I would be the presenter, wow, the facilitator. Wow. That's how God has been good to me. So I have traveled this world to share the success story of Uganda. Wow. How did you do it in Uganda? Why Uganda Microfinance is working? Because when you know where my office was at where our AMSHU office is. Yes. That is about a headquarters of AMSHU. I bought that building for the association. Other countries were struggling where to have even an office. But Uganda office, we have an office. Wow. I left the people I left there are doing very well. The office is there. They are doing the work of AMSHU. The industry is still organized, moving forward.
Why did you leave? Yet you've achieved a lot for them.
What do you mean? And you see, let me tell you, when I bought that building, I didn't have enough money, so I had borrowed some money from the bank, and our land title was in the bank. When I finished paying the last dot, I said, now, I told my board members that I think now it's my time to go. But I didn't want to leave the organization as if it was a sinking boat, because there was no money. So God was so good that I got we wrote a proposal and we got a capacity building money. It cost about 3 billion, which I left in the organization. So I told the people, now that you have this billion, 3 billion, now let me go in peace.
It should be time to enjoy the 3 billion.
You are thinking like many others who said that I used to, but you are stupid, Mr. Baguma. How do you go when you have got now this 3 billion? I said the 3 billion, I don't have a shilling on it. The 3 billion is for the activities of AMSHU, and they will continue to do that work. But so I never had money. But I retired even early. I retired early to prepare my body, my mind, and my body to prepare it for retirement. So that's why I retired even before the retirement age.
Well, what if President Museveni says, I've seen a very brilliant man here. Can you be accept to be a minister or senior presidential advisor? You are not.
See, let me tell you, Mr. Chivumbi. At one time, I was invited by I don't know where it's prudent to speak it properly.
It is okay.
I was invited by the then our Minister General Saleh to participate in the work of Minister of Finance. I asked him many questions, and he answered them, but some of them I was not convinced 100%. First of all, I'm sure where I was the major, other than promoting sound practice in microfinance, was robbing government. Now, if I was robbing government, now I was speaking to government. Yes. Now, if I joined them, my lips will be zipped. So I said, but then, me as a born again, I asked them, by the way, how much do you pay your commissioners? And he didn't have a clear answer. I said, me, I'm a born again. Where do I get school fees for my children? And others were telling me, you know, in the government, there are many resources of money. I said, how do they get it? Because me, I'm a born again, I can't steal. Then someone told me, there is this other thing. If you can't eat it, you don't stop others from eating it. That scared me a lot. And I said, with these two things, one, I was supposed to be robbing government. Then another, that once you go in that position, if you don't want to eat, you let others eat. And others were sounding unethical issues. That if you are in government, you either walk the talk, I don't know whether to what, the line of others, or you can be eliminated even. I said,
So you got scared for your life?
I'm not going to be corrupt. But if you are not going to be corrupt and you stand in the way of someone who is going to be corrupt, you are in hot soup. I said, now, for that matter, let me remain in the Robe government. That's easier for me. It's easier for me to rob a government on behalf of the industry than to be in a position where I can't talk anymore. Yeah. And I'm happy I took that decision.
Okay. It's been a pleasure.
I have no regrets for... But I wanted to make one point that why microfinance in Uganda grew.
Yes.
It was not only me alone. There were so many others. And there is a lady called Annie Rich. She was working in USAID, an American organization. That woman, whoever she is, she made a very big contribution to the success of microfinance in Uganda. Okay. How? She built a capacity building program. Most of the microfinance institutions you hear about, we got a training, and not only training, she gave us money. Big money, not small monies. My own organization, which I consider small, he gave us almost $500,000. Wow. $450,000. There are other institutions who got almost $1 million. And these were grants, it was not anything else. To build for capacity building and to make money, to have money for accessing by our clients. Our institution grew by over 300%. Wow. 300%, 400%, both in the clientele and in the portfolio. So when microfinance, when you're talking about it, you see I haven't talked too much about it. The word like portfolio, you would hear it in the other circles, but in microfinance, we started giving it a shape and a meaning. The microfinance, we started talking about breaking even. What does breaking even mean? Of course, there are some institutions, they had those words, but they were foreign to us. If an organization, during our time in the 90s, if your organization, you could make projections that can show that you can break even. Break even meaning at a point where your income is enough to meet your operation costs. And if you could make a projection of that you can break even in 5 years, you will be considered among one of the best institutions. But these days it can't even work. If you can't break even in 1 year, you are nothing. You don't know what you are doing. So that lady Annie Rich, I know when she left Uganda, I'm told that she went and worked in a World Bank. I don't know where she is, but she had such a big heart. I know at one time I was in a conference in a town it's in northern Spain. Valladolid. So it's sitting there.
Not Madrid.
Not Madrid. Valladolid. It's in the north of Spain. You reach Madrid and you fly again. Like you reach here and fly to Guru. So is the way I made a presentation, a brief one. I said microfinance is the matter of the heart. If you have very small heart, you can't do microfinance. And I got people who supported me that idea, that microfinance, indeed, if you don't have a big heart, you can't do microfinance. I don't mean a big heart like that of Museveni, because I think Museveni has a big heart. But his big heart is misinterpreted all the time. Yes. It doesn't pay him a lot because of being a big heart. Because otherwise, people who do entandikwa, bagabona, bagagawale, whatever, they shouldn't have misappropriated that money. That money would have made Uganda very rich because it was lots of money. Yeah. But they don't use it properly only. So the big heart is that you must first, big heart I mean, where someone feels better when others are getting better. That's a big heart. The microfinance, if you cannot feel glad, happy because others are getting better, then microfinance is not your area. You should be a person who can feel happy when others are getting happy, getting better. That's what makes someone happy. I did the microfinance for all those many years, but many of the things that made me remain in the microfinance were those stories where you reach and someone says the bacon, he says, Mr. Baguma, come and I show you. Show me what? He gives you a story why that this, he showed you a house, two-roomed house. Yes. And he says, this house do you know, someone telling you a story that, do you know, growing up your children,
Yes.
staying in one room with them, or separated by a curtain, a close curtain, and your children grow up with you, that when you are putting on your nika, your children know. Those stories will bring someone emotions.
Okay.
And you will know you are making an impact on this family. Because you will find people who are very, whose flowers were like with cow dung and what, smeared the houses. But now they put cement. And they will tell you that even me now, I mop my house, creating impact in people's lives.
Creating impact.
Yeah, but these days people do, when I see people joking around, stealing even the money for that, what would make a difference in those people's homes? People have very small hearts. They take pride in making others look bad, suffer. That shouldn't be acceptable. That shouldn't be done. How do you steal money that could help this family also have a living? But microfinance works when you adopt the proper procedures and you have a proper heart and you can have a good strategy. People come out of poverty. I've seen many families come out of poverty. There is no reason why anyone should be in poverty. But the people have very bad hearts. Even those who say they want to work, or they are there, like you hear now PDM, you will find people who say they are willing to do work, but others simply are targeting the money to steal it. They have no feelings for those poor families. People should be able to feel for others. When others are getting better, the baganda senti boringa na munalia yemere wuma. People should develop a heart to help others, to feel good when others are getting better. That's when we will have poverty to be minimized, if not eradicated. Because poverty, we may not eradicate it. Because even Jesus told us so. He says,
the poor ones will stay amongst you.
For the poor shall be, yes.
So it is reducing, not eradicating.
Yeah, it's reducing poverty. But when you have so many people out of poverty, the ripple effect will make everybody look better. In fact, at one time I told the person who were in this, was General who? And Gina, who was the deputy of Operational Wealth Creation.
Yes.
I told him, that money, if you can give it to me, I can use it much better and reach more people than you. Because for me, I have the capacity. I have land, first of all. I can grow more coffee, and I employ more people, pay them so that they can also pay school fees for their children. So my effect on the poor people in my village can be better than giving each person 50 trees, 50, 100 trees where they have nowhere to plant it. But for me, I employ them, give them employment. Even now, I employ many people. Even today, there are people who are calling me. I employ more people and do much more. You cannot say everybody can be rich on the village. It's not necessary even. Because if all of you are rich on the village, who will help others?
No one will wash the cars. No one will do the slashing for others.
Yes.
Because everyone will be rich.
But the important thing is that if you have like 10 people, rich people in the village, you can be sure about more than 100 people will be having a livelihood on those 10 people. Oh. Yes, it's a more sustainable livelihood. If the rich people have very good heart, they can have those families live a better life on fewer people who are rich.
It's been a pleasure to host you, Mr. David T. Baguma, on the Senior Citizens Talk. How many people are you impacting in your life? Have been a summary of the words of Mr. David Baguma, who's an expert on microfinancing. And until next time, my name is Chivumbi Agnes Benjamin. On the camera is Ronnie Serada.